The very first thing I thought about Odyssey to Trappist-1 was the final twist. But first thing first, today I'm going to tell you about the creative process that led me to write what became my first self-published book, without spoilers of course. And if you're curious, you'll find the link in the description. To tell you how I came to write Odyssey to Trappist-1, we have to travel a few years back into the past, to a time where I didn't really think I'd be publishing so many science fiction books, because I was working on a huge fantasy trilogy that it's been there for a long time now, but I'm picking it up right now to edit it, so you'll get some news in the near future, I think. My great love has always been fantasy, and I always read a lot more fantasy than science fiction, but then why did I ended up publishing science fiction in the last few years? While I was writing short stories to participate in literary contests, I found that writing science fiction appeals to me. It somehow allows me to deal with more serious, real, concrete issues than fantasy, where on the contrary I prefer to immerse myself in pure imagination. It was winning some of these literary contests that started it all. I put that in quotes because they were all projects that were already in the pipeline that I wanted to finish sooner or later. Specifically my short story The Last Pavilion, that you won't find on my website because I haven't translated it in English yet, won the Fantastic Science contest, which offered the prize of publishing a book with the publisher sponsoring the contest. It stayed with me because it was an awesome experience. The award ceremony was held in the Spotorno by the sea in conjunction with the science fiction fair. They paid my hotel for 2 people, and during the award ceremony they organized a show with a lightsaber fencing club and an actor that read my story in front of the whole audience. And afterward we all went to grab a beer, and it was a really nice evening. Anyway, I was contacted by the publisher, who asked for a book of about 100 pages. And, well, the fantasy I was writing was towards the end of the first draft, but I made an estimate it would be at least 500 pages long. It was too long. So I started to think about what a story I could write that would fill 100 pages. Not easy, a novella was needed, but one that made sense. It would be my first published book. I wanted to publish something well done, a satisfying, surprising story that dealt with themes that were dear to me. And I also needed to be able to write it in a short amount of time, because I had about 6 months to turn it in. I went through all the current projects, I always have several, but none of the stories were suitable. Either they were too long, or they were not science fiction, which was the genre required for publication. At this point I went back and looked for the ideas I've jotted down over the years. I have a Word file where I jot down any idea that seems nice and I don't have the time to develop at the moment, and I found an idea from 2 years earlier, a great twist, and I decided it was time to build a story around it. But you may ask, where did this idea come from? Well, it all started while watching a Link for Universe video, where Adrian Fertade, an Italian popular scientist, was talking about space travels. Adrian is in fact mentioned in Odyssey to Trappist-1 acknowledgements, although I don't think he knows it. In any case, I'm grateful to him for inspiring me, and I can only hope that my books and videos will do the same with someone of you. Having decided on the end of the book, and that I would set the story on a traveling spaceship, I needed a destination planet. And this is where Adrian and Link for Universe came in handy again, because I remembered a video I had seen like 4 years earlier about a recent discovery of possibly habitable planets. The Trappist-1 System. Well, for some strange reasons, it has happened to me at least 3 times now that people say Trappist is a planet where trap music is played. No! And I even have to restrain myself, otherwise they say it's aggression. The systems are named after the telescope that discovers them, in this case the Transiting Planets and Planetesimals Small Telescope. As you can see, the acronym was a bit of a stretch. Because although the telescope is physically located in the Andes, because the less atmosphere you have to obscure you, the better you can observe the universe, it was largely funded by Belgium, who wanted to pay tribute to the Trappist monks. As you can see, science and beer often go hand in hand. The Trappist-1 system consists of 7 exoplanets orbiting a red dwarf star, a very small, cold but long-lived star. It is such a small system that it could fit entirely within the orbit of Venus around the Sun. Despite its size, it is a very interesting system. 2 planets are too close to the star, they are hot and water is only found in a gaseous state. 2 other planets are too far away, they are cold and water is only found in a solid state. But as many as 3 planets are within the habitable zone and water is present in a liquid state, one of the fundamental conditions for the development and sustainability of life. The 7 planets in the system are so close to their star that they are tidally locked. This means that they always show the same side to the star, like the Moon does with the Earth. So half of them are always exposed, very hot, and the other half is always in the shadows, very cold. The Twilight Zone, a ring of penumbra, is the only belt where the temperatures are such that life is possible. In these cases, it's critical that the planets have an atmosphere that can absorb and transport heat from one side of the planet to the other, to make the Twilight Zone as large as possible. From NASA's measurement, the central planet has the most Earth-like characteristics in mass, density and composition, and therefore the most likely to be habitable. This planet is called Trappist-1e, because when a new system is discovered, the planets are named with letters starting with the star, that's the A, forward. I decided to rename it Helpis in honor of the Greek goddess of hope. And I just have to hope that my book will fall into the hands of someone in NASA, some astronomer who decide to make the name official. It will never happen, but fortunately a man can dream.
A man can dream.
If you know someone who works at NASA, please send them my book. With the final twist and the destination planet in place, all that remained was to write the journey, and I decided to set the story on a spaceship launched on a journey of more than 1,000 years, where the crew awakens from cryostasis to find themselves having to travel the distance awake, knowing that they will die before reaching their destination. They feel all of humanity's expectation resting on their shoulders, as they are to be the first settlers to terraform a new planet, allowing those who follow to leave a dying Earth and build a new life for themselves. As such, they are doing their best to build a society that might be able to survive to the destination, despite the multitude of genetic diseases that are eroding their genome generation after generation, in order to pass on the knowledge that is critical to the success for the mission. In this book I have focused on several social issues, such as the relationship with the disadvantaged, who are afflicted with diseases that affect their physics, the themes of mental health, broken by having to spend one entire life indoors, in a place that offers neither purpose nor perspectives. The contrast between a religious and an atheistic worldview, the ethical dilemma of how much evil can be done in the name of a greater good, to what extent does the end justify the means. The characters you will meet in this book are Andrew Cook, the protagonist, the last captain to lead the Endeavour through the black vastness of space before arriving on Helpis, Carl, the young first officer whom Andrew has known his whole life, Elsa, the communications officer whom Andrew always carries in his earpiece, Sylvia, the captain's companion and his right hand through all adversities, and Haruko, Andrew's mating partner, chosen by the matchmate system from among all possible partners to minimize the occurrence of dangerous mutations and keep the crew's genome pool healthy. Oh yeah, if I had written this book for a publisher, why did I self-publish it? Well, I sent it to the publisher, who replied that the book was interesting and that he liked my style. He did, however, suggest some specific changes that I can tell you about without spoiling the whole book. There were also interesting ideas, but they were introducing a whole bunch of new problems and would not improve the story. And guys, I have a little problem. I need to have full creative control over my works. I'm open to suggestions and I happen to welcome them, but if you suggest twisting a work by changing what was my vision in a way that does not improve it, I'd rather die poor under a bridge. Also, the duration of the contract was the maximum allowed by law, and I have to look it up online that it was 20 years. In Italy, of course. Not stating it in the contract was a lack of transparency to me, and the idea of being tied to a publisher for 20 years was crazy to me. If they hadn't made an effort to sell the book, it would have been the same as throwing it into the fire. And I didn't really like the idea of getting the right back when I was 50. Also, this English translation would have never existed. It was possible only because I own all the rights on my book. So I told them that I wouldn't make those changes and that I would give up the publication I won in the contest, and I decided to self-publish it on Amazon, and now I got an English translation that you can find at the link you find in the description. And if you like the content I publish on this channel, you can also support me through Patreon, where you can also find the novella I'm publishing, because I publish on Patreon all the ebook versions of the novella I write. So you can either buy it on Amazon or read it through Patreon. And if you like science fiction, go check it out. I love it, I really love it how it came out, and I hope you love it too. So if you happen to read it, please leave a review on Amazon, Goodreads, or whenever you want, and let me know what you think. I thank you for watching this video till the end, and as always, I wish you a good reading and a good writing. Bye!